Hey, it's Whitney from EcoVeganGal.com, and welcome back to the EVG Uncensored channel, in which I share my thoughts about anything I feel like sharing. And today, I'm going to give you a quick update, and then I wanted to answer a question that somebody asked me to cover on this channel. So, I had a great Thanksgiving. I hope you did too. And I launched the Pick My Brain sessions. I announced it officially yesterday, and that was really exciting. The response has been so wonderfully supportive, and I'm really looking forward to just building this up and seeing where it takes me. I am, as you saw from the video where I talked about it, just so passionate about the subject matter, and I really love helping other people. So it's nice to finally have structure in place there and really just funnel it all into one place. So many people ask me for advice, and it's just it can sometimes take a lot of energy to give it to individuals one by one, but to kind of bring everyone together and focus it in is not only helpful for me and my schedule, but it's also so amazing to have other people involved. So I really hope if you've been thinking about it, that you'll jump on board with this, because like I said, I really just see it growing bigger and bigger, and it's just really neat to have people in on the ground level. So that's been wonderful. I also have a special on my t-shirts just until tomorrow night. So when you get one of the Food is My Healthcare shirts, you can get the ebook, Healthy Organic Vegan on a Budget, for $6. And that's been just so wonderful to offer as well, because some people want both of them or want to give them as gifts. So it's been nice to have that up there as well. And I'm going to be finishing the audio recording for the audiobook version of the ebook tonight, which has been so wonderful. I really didn't expect to enjoy the process so much. I really love recording anything, so it's been really, really fun, and doing it by myself has just been a new endeavor, and it's been great. So for those of you who bought the audiobook package, I can't wait to get that out to you. And I'm already finished the PDF about how to make money and simple ways to make money and save money that is kind of beyond food. And that way, people who buy any of the ebook packages are now going to get that, which is also really cool, because as passionate as I am about making money and saving money, I just have all these extra tips that don't necessarily pertain to food. So I can't wait to get that to you if you purchase it, and if not, I will of course have a link down below for you to check it out, and encourage you to take advantage of the special deal going on right now. So that is the update from the business side, I think. This is kind of slightly random, but just because I like sharing what's going on, I am looking into getting an electric car, which is really awesome. I'm not entirely sure, but it really honestly makes the most financial sense for me, which it's so interesting. I went to the car show, the LA car show, which if you've never been to any of these big car shows, they're really fascinating, even if you're not that into cars. They're just, I don't know, I didn't realize that I was that fascinated by cars. And so going to these shows is really, really interesting for so many reasons. So it's interesting to see the technology, but it's also very fascinating to see how these companies market themselves. So I love just studying marketing in general, and every company is so unique and has all these these strategies. And if you know anything about marketing, it's so fascinating to watch how they convince people to buy, and how they get people excited and all of that. And this year, there's just been an explosion of electric cars, and it's because of this government mandate for these car manufacturers to release these electric cars. And I went in. I've been thinking about getting a new car because mine is 8 years old. It doesn't get great gas mileage. Evie, that's not very nice of you. That's kind of rude to be licking yourself that way. Oh, yeah. So the government mandates enforcing that the car manufacturers make electric cars, and so they're just everywhere. I mean, I think almost every car manufacturer now has one, which is really, really cool. And I went in there just kind of curious. Been thinking about getting the Ford Fiesta again after doing the Ford Fiesta project, and I got really excited about it until I went to Fiat, and they have a phenomenal electric car. it gets more gas mileage than most of them for that are all electric. The only exception is Tesla. And it is leather free. All the cars on the electric line are leather free, which is really cool. And it has neat technology. And it's just a really great car. And it's really affordable. They have a phenomenal leasing deal. Plus, I didn't realize this, but when you buy or lease an electric car, the government will send you a check for $2,500. Just send it to you. And you can do whatever you want with it, which is so cool. And yeah, I'm exploring trading in my car for an electric one, and I've been doing the math about how much I would spend and all this, and it's just kind of a too good to pass up type of deal. So I'm working that out, and assuming that all works out, I will definitely let you know and be talking a lot about the experience of owning an electric car. It's kind of just been this faraway dream because it's taken a while for car manufacturers to really catch up, and a lot of the options that have been out there just haven't been that appealing until the Tesla came around. But of course, the current Tesla models are like at least, I think, $90,000. And then Tesla announced that they're going to be releasing an affordable, I think it's going to be $35,000 model, but they don't know what date that's going to come out. So long story short, I've been thinking a lot about electric cars and think I might get a Fiat. So I'll keep you posted on that. I think those are all the exciting personal and professional details to mention right now. So I want to jump into this email that I received from somebody who will remain nameless, but is very dear to my heart and has been part of the Eco Vegan Gal community for at least 4 years and really a huge part of it and just an incredible person. So I'm not going to say your name, but I know you're watching, so I had to give you that little emotional shout out there. So she sent me an email asking what my perspective was on this situation about dealing with challenging social situations. And this person in her life had kind of struck her when she was down. And this is, I believe, a few years ago. Said some really harsh things and just very inconsiderate, rude, judgmental things. This was 3 years ago. And then up to now, she reached out to her, and this person writing the letter was reached out to by this friend that was mean to her, reached out and wants to reconnect. So the question is, how do you handle this situation, maybe potentially in general or specifically around veganism, when someone treats you badly and says rude things and then wants to reconnect with you? What do you do? So I think that this really can be applied to so many things. I'm trying to think of specifically if that's happened. I've had some pretty severe falling outs with friends. The first big one was when I was in high school, and it was horrible. I literally had all my friends turn on me and decide that they kind of like exiled me from the group, and I didn't have any friends. I was in 8th grade, I think. It was horrible. And I made a great friend in the meantime, who's more of an acquaintance now, but we were good friends for at least a year. And then one of the friends from the group wanted to reconnect and be friends again and act like nothing had happened. And, you know, she's been a really great friend of mine for years and years. And it's interesting. You know, it's different. That's very different when you're younger. I don't really remember my thought process around all of that, but I do remember how painful it was. But in that situation, I realized that her friendship was important to me, that I could overlook those things. And of course, when you're that young, going through puberty and hormonal changes and all those things, all of those situations are horrible. I mean, being in a social situation like that it's just really bad. And I've also had at least 2 other friends kind of do similar situations where suddenly they just got upset and no amount of communication was enough to change that, and they stopped being friends with me, and the friendship has never come back around. And those are different situations in this question, but I guess it just makes me think about how people can treat us some way and then maybe years later they change their mind. And I've thought about this from time to time. You know, what would I do if these people wanted to reconnect. And the big thing for me has always been not about forgiveness. It's not really a matter of forgiveness. It's more just, are these people valuable to you in your life? So the first friend I mentioned has been one of the most valuable people in my entire life. So I'm glad that I forgave her and we moved past things and we reignited our friendship. The other women that I've mentioned, and when I think about it, I think actually they don't feel that valuable to me. And not in a cruel way. That's not what I mean to say that with. It's just that when I think about what value can they add and what can I add to their life, and the tension, is it worth working through all of that? It's really true of any relationship. So if somebody doesn't agree with you on a lot of things, if somebody doesn't treat you that well, if maybe the way that they've treated you in the past was really, really hurtful, and you think about your friendship with them overall, are you just friends with them to have friendship and support? Are you friends with them because there's a really deep connection? Do they add something invaluable to you that you couldn't get from anyone else? And I found that, in most cases that I've had falling out with people or really bad situations with people, they just weren't worth having back. You can forgive them, but it's overall just not worth it. In fact, very few people ultimately end up being worth it, worth our time, worth our love, worth our attention. When you really want to connect with somebody, you don't need that many people in your life. And it's few and far between to find somebody that's incredibly special and incredibly just deeply meaningful. And I consider this a lot, For me, I am constantly socializing. And I think about in terms of how I prioritize my time and my energy with people. And everybody kind of has different levels. There are people in my life, and very, very few of them, that I will drop anything for. And those people are the ones that is just like really, really, really special. And then there are people that I'll drop most things for. And then there are people that I'll drop some things for. And there are people that I will drop nothing for. That doesn't mean that they don't matter to me. It's just that they're just at a different level. And we have a different energetic exchange. We have a different history and friendship and meaningful connection there. And it's also really fascinating as I've matured over time, recognizing just kind of ways to suss people out. In the past, I've been very, very open, and I've created friendships really fast. And I've realized, especially recently, that there are a few people that stand the test of time. There are some people that'll be in my life for a few months or maybe a few years, and then they'll just fade away and they'll become acquaintances. And I've wondered, I've put so much energy into those people, and they faded away over really small things. So that's always fascinating too. And now I've recognized that I don't want to give my energy away that freely. I'd rather have more of a gradual energy to see if they stand the test of time, right? And then they kind of get all of me. So it's kind of reversing it, right? And my point being is, I think it's beneficial for all of us to think that way, is how much of our energy and our love and our time and all of that do we give to somebody? Do they have to kind of earn it? Do they have to prove it to us? Do they have to become this strong person in our life, versus somebody, that you give it all to right away and then they kind of just disappear. I've had so many instances of them, and I've kind of noticed that it usually takes over a year for me to really know how valuable someone is to my life, right? So with all this said, that is really what it comes down to. It's kind of like when you're dating, when you're in a romantic partnership, most people don't just get married right away. Some people do, and sometimes it works out that way, right? But the people that spend a year or two together before they decide to get married, that maybe they have a better chance for success. I mean, who's to say? There's so many factors involved, but it's that same sort of idea, right? Are you going to get married to a friend? Married in quotes, right? How are you strengthening that friendship and that trust and building it up and really examining it before you have this commitment of everything that you have? And I think coming back around to these people that hurt us and want to reconnect, it's like, what is this person after? How valuable are they to you? It sounds to me like the answer was already in this message. It sounds to me like the person that asked this question doesn't actually care, you find this person to be that valuable. There's so much pain there. And I think sometimes the unsure aspect is coming from just wanting to be friends with everybody, or wanting to love everybody, and wanting to be fair. And, we have kind of been conditioned in our culture of that we just need to be nice to everyone and have as many friends as possible. But a lot of that is just so superficial. So to me, you have to brush aside the superficial part of it and really examine what is at that core, what is at the root, what is the purpose of it. And if you find yourself wanting to give this person another chance, in a way, you have to let them earn it, right? Sure, go out for coffee, have tea, see how that goes. If you have a great time with this person, you think, wow, that really felt good. And this person, we have so much to talk about, and I can share something and they listen, and they can share something and I listen. That's so important, right? To be around people that really take you in when you're taking, that back and forth, as opposed to people that are just waiting for their chance to talk. That's kind of rare. That to me is a huge qualifier. Like if somebody really is attentive, if somebody really cares, if they're checking in on a regular basis, all that stuff. So I don't think that there's anything wrong if you feel compelled to reconnecting, maybe have a phone call. But I think once you decide if you want that person back in your life, the next step is then having a conversation with them and letting them know how they hurt you. And if you feel comfortable sharing that with them, that's huge. And if they can receive that, truly apologize, truly move forward with that, then you'll know that you can move forward, right? So reconnect, have that conversation. That conversation would determine whether or not you can really move forward with them. And in terms of how this applies to veganism, it's kind of all the same thing. I mean, listen, people can be so rude. I'm used to it by now, and maybe some people aren't as used to it as I am because I hear it all the time. I've found that it doesn't, I don't let it bother me, because when people make fun of me or are rude about the whole vegan thing, it just says so much more about them than me. And really, I'm secure in the fact that I'm vegan, and I'm secure in all my choices, and I find there's so much information that comes into my life to assure me of that for right now. And I don't believe in making absolute decisions and think, this is going to be the way it is for the rest of my life. But as of right now, I feel good about it. And if somebody chooses to be rude, chooses to tease, chooses to whatever about it, it's like, it doesn't really matter. And if someone's really cruel about it, then that shows so much about their character. And if it happens time and time again, perfect example for determining how valuable someone is in your life or not. I wouldn't say that there's really anyone in my life that, I'll take that back. What I was going to say is, I don't know if there's anyone in my life that is kind of like exiled, is not in there. The exception would be those friends that chose to end the friendship first. To me, I've thought so much, like, what if they come back around? And right now in my life, I don't really want to let them back in, right? Because too much time has passed, and they whatever, those are so many details. My point being that there are a few people that I choose not to have in my life at all. And then there are plenty of people that are in my life in a lot smaller ways. And then there are some people that are in bigger and, all those different levels I mentioned. So you can certainly have people in your life in small ways. But then again, is it worth it? It's kind of like Facebook. Facebook is so weird. People send me friend requests all the time, and I don't actually accept friend requests anymore unless I have like an actual relationship with someone, or there's like some sort of good back and forth value. Maybe I really like their posts, or maybe I want to be invited, go to know when their events happen, and maybe whatever, like there's a few different reasons why Facebook might happen, but when random people or people that I've just met once or don't have like an established long-term relationship with friend request me, I ignore it, right? It just, what's the point? And it's so interesting with social media, how we become friends with somebody. And in fact, a couple years ago, I went and deleted all these friends, and some people got kind of offended, but I had to explain to them, it's like, what's the point? Like, you never write me a message on Facebook. You never like my posts. You don't comment. You don't tag me in photos. You don't invite me to events. What is the point? And I think that things like Facebook has kind of like confused us so much about what a friend is. So if you want to have thousands of people as your friend on Facebook, then it comes down to, why do you even want them? Some people do that so that they can promote their own content. And that to me is even kind of weird. It's like, your personal Facebook page is supposed to be about personal friendships, in my opinion, right? Your public Facebook page is for random people to like it and enjoy it. But I think it's so odd how people create these friendships through those networks, right? To me, it's just defeats the whole point. So I think that's why all this confusion is about how to treat friends and how to be friends and what friends you have, how many friends you have, all that stuff. It's just so superficial. But if you really want the like fully real, important, special people in your life, you have to start defining what that means to you and what you want and how these people work in your life. And that's where the answers come. So I hope that gave you some perspective. The great thing about this uncensored channel is being able to express myself and share feelings. And I love reading your comments, but it does feel weird sometimes not to have somebody, add input. Speaking of it, I mean, I create these posts to express myself, and more, though, they're also creating for you and to answer questions and support you and inspire you and whatever else you want to take from them. So I love that this person wrote me this email and asked me to talk about this subject matter today, and I would love to hear that more often. So if any of you want to either publicly request a content in your comments, or you want to privately and anonymously send me, or not anonymous, but be considered anonymous. So what she did is she wrote me an email, asked me to talk about the subject, and then asked me not to mention her name or any of the specifics. You are always welcome to do that. Just send me an email or even a Facebook message, and I'm there for you. Every Sunday is my commitment, or more. I am committed to doing a video every Sunday now, and I might just do a few more throughout the week when I feel like it. And I actually wanted to answer this question earlier, but my schedule just didn't allow for it. So thank you so much, as always, for listening. It's been over 23 minutes at this point. I hope all of you are doing really, really well and had a phenomenal holiday weekend if you were celebrating Thanksgiving. And I would love to hear your own perspectives on friendships and how those work in your life, and what would you do in this situation, and how have you handled it? What have you learned? Whether you agree with me or not, I love hearing your perspective on things. And I will see you next Sunday. Bye.